It's Thursday, 21st of August, 2025, and welcome to the Water Action Platform, a monthly event where we share useful information and uplifting stories from the water sector all around the world. My name is Jo Burgess, and today I will be talking about brain drain, knowledge loss, the Silver Tsunami. Before that, though, I want to take time to thank these brilliant sponsors, without whom we wouldn't even be able to have the Water Action Platform, nor the Exec Exchange, and nor the Try Reservoirs initiative that launchpad for technology entrepreneurs. We're deeply indebted to these sponsors. Thank you. What do I mean by the Silver Tsunami? Well, headlines would have us believe that people in their 40s to 60s are retiring in droves, and that we're all headed for a catastrophic, irreversible loss of knowledge in the water industry. But we all know what clickbait looks like, so is it true? Well, let's ask a water company. We asked the Strategic Workforce Planning Manager for Anglian Water, which is a water company in the UK.
We headed up a project to look at this and run some data to look at how big of a problem was this within our company. So we have about 6,000 employees, and we saw that 1,000 of them, which is about 15-16% of our organization, are currently aged 56 and above. And we have really good tenure within our organization. And that group specifically have, on average, 17 years worth of experience each. So collectively, that's 17,000 years worth of experience that they have that could potentially be walking out the door within now or within the next AMP. And the knowledge that they have is quite specific, tacit knowledge that they may not even realize they have. So where is that really critical valve within that field that nobody else is going to be able to find? And how does that, how does the interface work on a particular site that isn't standard and isn't written down anywhere? So we really wanted to figure out how can we get that knowledge out of people's heads, for one, but then also how can we improve the conversation about retirement?
Thank you, Stephen. These are great insights. So 15% of Anglian Water staff are due to retire in the next 10 years, taking 17,000 years of collective experience with them. So what can we do? The most obvious thing is, of course, sharing that experience. And with today's technology, it's never been easier. Piers Clark spoke to Joe Blackman, who came highly recommended because of the work he is doing to address the aging workforce challenge. Joe is the founder of Vitendo Training Solutions, where the main focus is to share knowledge, taking it from the people who have it to the people who need it. With equal passions for public works, video, and just-in-time training, Joe has taken the initiative to set the standard for capturing institutionalized knowledge. Piers opened by asking Joe what he thought the Silver Tsunami actually is.
Oh, Silver Tsunami. So I feel like our best and brightest are already working on the aging infrastructure of our industry. The pipes that are 75 years old and they were metered for 50 years, or the water treatment plant that needed an upgrade 20 years ago and it's still plugging along. I like to focus on the aging workforce. So the Silver Tsunami are those who, let's say they have retired in the last 5 to 10 years, or they are going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. And the tsunami means there's more people leaving the industry than coming into the industry. So imagine this huge exodus of people like you and myself. We don't have hair, or gray hair, and we're leaving the industry and we're taking all that institutionalized knowledge with us. And the next generation is like, hey, how does this work? How do you solve for this? Did you put an SOP down for that? No, because they took all that information and now they're gone. So that's the Silver Tsunami.
I love that picture of, we're so used to thinking about it with the assets, we just don't think about it with our most important asset, the people. And when I joined the water sector 30, 40 years ago, there were actually people who walked around site and they had a little black book that they'd flick through, and this would tell them where the pumping stations were and where the valves were. And when they left, they sold that book to the incoming people. Of course, we don't have that anymore, but there was this sort of black market of you could buy the book from someone that would tell you where the valves were and how hard you had to turn them. All of that knowledge just dissipates out. All right.
Yep.
I got that. Thank you. That's a great description of the Silver Tsunami. What is it you're doing?
So Vitendo Training Solutions, it's the same as that black book, but it's above ground, meaning it's legal. So Vitendo Training Solutions, just imagine it this way. So I used to sell heavy equipment to cities. I saw this Vector truck right here. I used to sell these complex pieces of equipment to cities. $600,000 truck. I would deliver it. I'd bring it out. It's all shiny. It's got the tire black on it. Everybody's taking pictures. I train everybody on everything. You do a full tip to tail. It could be a day and a half worth of training and a ride along. 2 months later, they're calling me back saying, hey, how does this work? How does that work? Where's this filter at? Where's this, this pump at, or this lever at, or this valve? And I learned that the people weren't necessarily retaining the training, or somebody was on vacation, or somebody left the city a year later. And so they always needed retraining.
Yeah, and if you're not doing it every day, then you don't know it. It doesn't matter what we're doing.
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself how to log onto my banking app because I don't use it.
Yeah, what's my password? How do I do this? Or what's the app for that? It's the same thing. So I started shooting myself on video. Since I was a salesman and I was a subject matter expert on that piece of equipment, I would shoot my video. Hey, here's the pre-trip checks. Here's where you find this pump. Here's where you find the filters at the end of your job, the day. And I would send them to the supervisors, and they loved it because they could use those videos as that little black book, like you said, to send to somebody and say, hey, here's how you get unstuck out in the field. Here's how you properly wash this out. And so it added accountability. And then also people could learn, people could train on their own. So that's what Vitendo is. I come out, I put everything on video, best practices, institutionalized knowledge, and now they can use it as onboarding, they can use it as refreshers, or they can use it as a black book to kind of get things done more efficiently.
It's a genius idea because it's got all those things you've just described, but also you can press pause and rewind and replay and all of that stuff.
Right?
So,
yeah.
We're in a world where we do everything from YouTube. Doesn't matter what you haven't done before, you can find it on YouTube and tell yourself it's absolutely genius. Now, so that's what Vitendo Training Solutions is. And it's a business that you run and you provide, and it's just on the water sector?
No. I mean, I've done things and street side, like how the proper mix or the proper temperature for a hot patch, how to pour cement, how to level cement. This concept.
I'd say those were still water sector stuff, actually. It's still.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm not at the local pizza shop doing videos on Luigi's Pizza, though.
Yeah, that was the bit I was after, trying to make sure. Although, actually, how does Luigi? No, let's not go there. Just-in-time training. What do you mean by just-in-time training?
So just-in-time training, I feel like I coined the term, but we all know about just-in-time production. These manufacturers, they call them lean production, to where they make it when you order it. It's not like McDonald's where there's 20, double quarter pounders with cheese sitting on the heating rack, and then they just pick one up when you order it. It's where it's made fresh, or it's made fresh as soon as you order it.
It's straight in your brain at the time you need it, rather than being taught something 6 months ago that by the time you actually need to use it.
Yeah. The new generation coming in, they don't know everything. They don't need to know everything. But if they know where they can find how to learn something when they need to do that job, that's just-in-time training.
Brilliant. And I've got to ask, canned versus custom video, what's the difference between those two? I know that's language.
Canned is like let's say you have a Honda or a Porsche, right? A Porsche, you go on YouTube and say, how do you take the battery out of your Porsche? Not that you should be doing it anyways, but how do you take the battery out? There's probably a Porsche on there. It might not be your exact make, model, year, but it's a Porsche, and you could probably, fiddle around and get it figured out. That's a canned video. That isn't specific to exactly the application that you have. Custom is where I come out and shoot the videos of your operators with your pumps or with your clarifiers, with your equipment in your dirt or in your water. So when they need to learn something, they see the exact truck, they see the exact pump that they're going to be working with. And that's the custom aspect about it. It's so much better when we can find that video of the exact thing, the problem that we have, the exact faucet that we have, instead of just a random faucet that can maybe help us fix our faucet in our bathtub. So that's canned versus custom.
Note that Joe and his team are confident they can provide different things to different utilities in different countries. If interested, reach out to him on the links highlighted here. There are other, less formal ways to record knowledge, and many companies are doing it in-house. As some of you know, we release a weekly podcast called the Exec Exchange. These are short podcasts in which a leader from the water sector tells a story each week to inform and inspire other water sector leaders. There are, of course, many other water-related podcasts. And for this next segment, I want to highlight the EddyVision Lightning Talks by Panton McLeod. Their podcasts have a particular focus on operational issues. Piers recently spoke to Jim Panton about what they've been doing.
So being a small business, we were always struggling a little bit to get our message out to the industry. And we ended up stumbling into some YouTube videos probably nearly 10 years ago now, just promoting who we are and what we do. We invented our mascot, Eddie McLeod. My father started the business, Panton McLeod, but there was never a McLeod involved. There was a friend briefly who didn't get involved in the business, so McLeod never existed. And people always asked who is the McLeod in Panton McLeod. And eventually we brought our mascot in, who is an elephant called Eddie McLeod, to write an answer for that question. So Eddie McLeod then became a channel for media and marketing called EddyVision. And we started doing some videos, and then we started doing some live events. And in those live events, we did regular kind of presentations, but we also did 10-minute rapid fire lightning talk presentations. And falling out from that, the next iteration now, there's podcasts. We're trying our hand at that. And the EddyVision Lightning Talk podcast is our operationally focused chat with operators in the water industry every 2 weeks.
Excellent. Now, and I love it. I've known you for a long time. I never realized that there wasn't a McLeod, and that the elephant that you've created was merely a fiction. Oh, I feel I've been cheated. Now, so you've just touched on it there. The podcasts are short, sharp, with an operational focus, correct?
Absolutely. So in the industry, if we go to conferences, if we go to events, if you read industry magazines and publications, everything tends to be very strategic. It's all about the regulatory funding cycle. It's all about the kind of 2050 challenges that we all face. And there are some pretty significant challenges. Let's face it, we all recognize that, and those are important. But actually, because we're a small business, we operate right at the pointy end, let's call it, in the operational field. I sometimes feel the biggest challenges are not necessarily at the strategic end, they're at the delivery end. You've got operators running assets that are on their knees. We know there's underfunding. We've talked about that at strategic levels for years and years and years. But the real implication of it is it's a bit like having your car that's breaking down and you don't have the time or maybe the money or the service garage isn't available. And you're limping around in your car that's about to break down, and you're doing everything you can to keep it going without it actually stopping until you can finally get that chance to do the service that it needs. And sometimes we find that the people we're helping operationally are in that kind of a world where the treatment plant is just about on its limits, and they're just doing everything they can to keep it going. And there's some really interesting stories in there. And obviously we work in that field quite a bit, so that's what we're going to try and draw out in some of these discussions.
What I think is so important there is the fact that the focus of these is to capture key operational knowledge. So even with the Aging Workforce Challenge, knowledge is remembered, it's retained, it's still available to others as and when they join the sector. After all, elephants never forget. So in fact, there's a lot we can do, a lot we can all do to share industry knowledge and uplift and empower the sector's newest joiners. This is one organisation that's particularly close to my heart because along with Richard Stutz, who I'm sure some of you will know, I was involved in organising the first ever IWA UK Young Water Professionals Conference. After that, I moved to South Africa. I joined the regional association there, the Water Institute of Southern Africa, or WISA, and I met this man, Tobias Barnard. There was no YWP chapter in South Africa, and we needed one. So with 250 rands of our own money each, or about $14, we opened a bank account, made up a logo, and went to the International Water Association and WISA for endorsement. They said yes. We begged some sponsorships, and long story short, we threw our first conference. We wanted to hold it in 2009, but January was cheaper. We hoped for 50 people, and in the end, 200 came. Now, there are thousands of South African young water professionals. Tobias and I are long forgotten, just as it should be, And later this year, they're holding the 8th biennial Young Water Professionals Conference. The young professionals from Uganda who attended our 2010 conference went home and set up their own chapter, which spread into neighboring Rwanda and Kenya. I am button-burstingly proud of them. But back to the main point, there are competent young professionals everywhere, and they are ready, willing, and more than able to take the reins. Our new sector entrants are highly capable and thirsty for knowledge. Yes, they're tech-savvy, and they are more knowledgeable in more ways than that. So even outside of industry events, whenever we work on anything, we can and should include colleagues of all ages and levels of experience. In this next segment, my IEL colleague Vanessa van Rossum will be talking about a climate change trial reservoir technology demonstration in which Brabant Water are testing KenWave technology for pipeline condition assessment in their own network. The thing I want you to pay attention to while the trial partners explain what they're doing is the number and range of people in the site photographs. Here's Vanessa.
Thank you, Joe. Recently, I had the huge pleasure to assist to a field inspection of the DRI technology of KenWave at the installations of Brabant Water in the Netherlands. DRI, or dynamic response imaging, is used to collect pipeline condition data across a wide variety of pipe materials and diameters. This non-destructive and non-invasive technology provides relevant pipeline condition and leak data at a resolution equal to or less than a pipe segment. The data helps asset owners, operators, and managers better understand the current condition of critical pipeline assets to make informed decisions on operations management, risk management, and budget planning. KenWave technology balances a cost-effective implementation with high-value outputs for decision support purposes. So how does it work? DRI is a condition assessment method that converts vibration and acoustics into imagery to provide a holistic understanding of the pipeline conditions. The emitting sensor sends out the vibrations and acoustics into the pipeline. For this, the sensor should be in contact with the pipeline using existing valves or through potholes, as can be seen in this case at Brabant Water. The receiving sensors are placed at a distance of 100 to 300 meters from the emitting sensor and capture the vibrations and acoustics. By this, DRI can measure relative composite pipe stiffness, with which on its turn, it can calculate wall thickness and subsequently calculate wall loss. After the field visit, I had the pleasure of having a small chat with Tico Michels of Brabant Water and Cameron White of KenWave about the importance of this trial for each of them. We're here today with Cameron White from KenWave, and we're here with Tico Michels from Brabant Water to speak about the trial reservoir of the DRI technologies. So, Tico, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit more about the technology in your own words.
The technology is really helpful to investigate for us as a drinking water company the condition of our pipelines in a really innovative way. It's all kind of new technology and new data science, and it's hopefully very helpful for us for to be more, how to say, future proof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Cameron, can you tell me something about your own technology in your own words?
Yeah, so we're really excited to bring dynamic response imaging to the market. It's based on vibroacoustics, and we can inspect pipes from the outside. And really, we're trying to strike a balance between the level of effort to do an inspection and sort of the value of the data that's coming out. So we want to be able to provide good data that Tico can make good asset management decisions, but not have to have level of service risk or, that level of effort is tolerable. So you can use it in lots of different applications.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So about the trial, what are you most excited about?
That we do it.
Okay.
That we are doing it.
Okay,
it was,
good.
yeah, of course. Within a water company, we are used to do trials or tests. But the way we use the trial now in this way is that if it's successful, we're going to implement it and use it as a company.
Mm-hmm.
For me as an innovator, that's wonderful because, we put a lot of effort in it, in the riser scan, in testing. And my whole goal is, of course, to create a change within the company, to be future-proof. So, I'd like the trial to test it. And if it works, we're going to use it in preparation.
Not leave it only by trialing, but really thinking about the implementation. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Cameron, what's the exciting part for you about this trial?
Like when we're trying to bring a new technology to market, one thing that's super important is to have real world validated case studies where, we go in, we collect the data, we analyze the data, we sort of say where the bad pipes are, where the good pipes are. And then to actually have something to validate that, where this tool, during the pilot, we're going to be comparing the DRI results to a previous inspection that was done with a high resolution tool. And so having that validation point is really critical for us as we try to come both work with Brabant Water, but also other utilities in the Netherlands and then throughout Europe. It'll be a nice proof point for us.
Absolutely. Good. Okay. Any final comments or any final things that you would like to state or say, Tico?
I'm very grateful for this whole process. It's really helpful in as a company, the new technology, to trial it, to test it, to find it, and to be really innovative and make the best of it. And if it will work, and it will work, probably it will be a really huge step for us doing condition assessments of our pipelines. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And I just reiterate like how thankful we are for the opportunity, working with utilities in this trial reservoir program that united us with Brabant Water, like making that connection. That's what it's all about, is sort of people working together. And we're really excited for the program.
Good. Well, it was a wonderful day. We just saw it in the field. So that worked out perfectly. So only waiting for the results, and let's hope that this is the initiation of a really long time collaboration. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
As you've heard, Tico is excited to do this trial, as in case the final outcomes are successful, the actual uptake of the DRI technologies by Brabant Water has already been secured.
Thank you to Tico, Cameron, and Vanessa. The cleverness in the DRI technology is undeniable, as is Brabant Water's vision and leadership in navigating their procurement pathways to sign a conditional purchase agreement, meaning that if the demonstration shows that DRI does what they need it to do, they will immediately roll out its use. A key element of this particular trial, though, is training. The reason you saw several observers in those site photos is that training on how to use the equipment and interpret the data will be an essential aspect of the work, getting people together to share knowledge. The trial is progressing really well, and I can't wait to see the final results. We will, of course, keep you posted. In all projects and routine work we do, we can find ways to share knowledge through personal, direct contact. We can simply let people connect. Let's go back now to Anglian Water.
The solutions that we put in place were around increasing the notice period. So we incentivized people to give 6 months notice rather than the contracted 1 or 3 months. And there was an additional payment that they received from doing that. There's been really good uptake on that so far, and 90% of our retirees are picking that option. And we've been able to use that extra time to be able to hand over to their replacements, to be able to write down processes and procedures. There's a bit more work to do in the operational space because we understand when it comes to operational issues, they do tend to take a priority. So not everybody's had the luxury of being able to use that time for handing over. That's something we're looking at. But we've also looked at things like line manager guidance, where people who are retiring might not necessarily have the same goals. So how can we change those goals around so it is specifically around capturing knowledge and improving things before they go? That extra time that they've got has also been able to get them to understand, get them to grips that they are going to be leaving the organisation. It's quite difficult change to make. So that's allowed people the space and the time to think. And the final thing we did was introduce some flexible working and glide paths. So people didn't want to go from 5 days working into all of a sudden, I'm retiring. So now there's a framework they can follow where they can work 5 days, then 4 days, then 3 days a week, and slowly, gradually go into retirement without having the pressure of immediately stopping work, which has been really good for us.
It is that simple. We are a social species. We like to talk. We like to share. Let people connect. So this month, there's no quirky end to the show. This month, I have a serious call to action. There are plenty of international associations in our industry, the IWA, the institutions of chemical and civil engineers, and so on. There are plenty of regional and national ones too. We have collated a list of as many of these associations as we can find, along with additional resources like EddyVision and similar channels, free courses, and written resources. You can find the sheet here, and we will share this link again in the members' email later today. It is a collaborative resource, so please do add any useful resources for young professionals, or in fact all professionals that you know of and that we've left out. And my call to action is this. To young professionals, join an association where you are and build your network. Get to know the grumpy old people at work like Piers and me. And grumpy old people, give your new colleagues the space and grace to use and develop all of their skills. Don't just use them as tech support. With that, we come to the end of this month's broadcast. Once again, I want to thank all of our sponsors shown here. The next Water Action platform will be on the 25th of September. I hope you'll join us then. And in the meantime, keep asking questions, keep sharing this month more than ever, and keep safe.